Alien girl panics after spotting a human vessel she grew up. Believing they were legends, Lyra sat alone in the dark control room. Kay, her large violet eyes blinking at the glowing radar screen. She was young for her role, only 22 cycles old, but smart and quick. Her people, the Varelians, trusted machines more than instincts. But Lyra had always trusted both outside the station. The stars floated like cold diamonds. The space around her was calm, quiet, as always. This station was far from the main colonies built only for observation. Most officers found it boring. But Lyra liked the peace. She sipped a warm drink and looked at the radar again. Suddenly, a red dot appeared on the edge of the screen. Small, fast, and strange. Her fingers moved quickly on the console, zooming in. "What is that?" she whispered. It was not a normal Varelian ship. Wrong shape, wrong movement. The engines pulsed in a rhythm she had never seen before. She opened the ship database and started scanning for a match. No result. She tried again and again. Still no result. A cold feeling touched her neck. "This isn't one of ours," she said, her voice low. She tapped the communication panel. "Officer Darnell, this is Lyra in Control Room 3, she said. "I've picked up an unidentified ship." A tired voice replied, "Another asteroid." "We've had false alarms all week." "No, sir," she said firmly. "This is moving with power, and it's coming fast." He sighed. "Probably a faulty reading. Ignore it." Then silence. Lyra stared at the radar. The dot was moving faster now, straight toward the station. She switched screens and brought up the visual feed. It was far, just a shadow, but the shape was clear. Sharp wings, long body, glowing rear engines. It didn't look alien to her. It looked old, ancient. She remembered stories her mother used to tell her about creatures from the past. Creatures called humans, but those were just myths. Bedtime stories? No. "It can't be," she said, shaking her head. She opened the restricted archive and typed in her personal code. A warning flashed. Accessing historical myths may result in disciplinary action. She ignored it. She typed, "Human ships legends." One image appeared, grainy and old, and her heart stopped. It looked almost the same as the ship on her radar. She stared at it, her hands cold. The same shape, the same glowing engines. "But humans aren't real," she whispered. "They disappeared." If they ever existed, the radar beeped again, louder this time. The unknown ship was now just 500 clicks away. Still no ID, still no signal. She tried to hail it. "This is Varelian Station Eco 7. Identify yourself," she said. No response. Again. She called, louder, still nothing. Lyra turned on the station's scanner beams. Maybe they could get a better image, but as soon as she activated them, the unknown ship slowed down. "What?" she said, leaning forward. It was like it knew she was watching. She turned off the beam, and the ship started moving again. Her heart beat faster. She opened a private channel and called the only person who might believe her, Captain Relic. She asked quietly. A deep voice answered. "Lyra, it's late. I saw something," she said. "Something." "Impossible? What do you mean?" he asked, sounding alert now. She took a breath. "I think I found a human ship." There was silence, long and heavy. Then he said, "Are you sure?" "I checked the myths. I checked the radar," she replied. "It matches." Relic's voice dropped. "Don't tell command. Not yet," he said. "If that's really a human vessel, they'll hide it or destroy it." "Why?" she asked, confused, because humans were not just a myth. He said they were feared. The call ended. Lyra looked back at the radar. The ship was close now. Only minutes away. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. She didn't know what this ship wanted, but she knew one thing for sure. The legends were not just stories, and tonight they were coming to life. Lyra didn't sleep that night. She sat in the dark control room, staring at the radar screen. The strange ship was now parked just outside the station's scanner range. Silent, still, and watching. No alarms, no warnings from the system to everyone else. It was invisible, but not to her. She had saved the image, both the one from the radar and the old myth picture from the restricted files. She stared at them side by side, same body shape, same engines, same strange energy trail. "I know what you are," she whispered. "You're human." Lyra couldn't stop thinking about her. Childhood. Back when her mother used to tell stories before sleep, tales about a race so clever, so dangerous, that even the stars feared them. They were not the strongest, not the fastest, but they were different. They burned their own planet. Her mother once said, then flew to the stars looking for more. But those were just fairy tales, weren't they? Back then she had laughed. Now she wasn't so sure. She opened the restricted archives again, this time digging deeper. She used her clearance codes from the control room. If someone found out, she'd be punished, maybe worse. But she had to know the truth. A black screen appeared, asking for a final passcode. She typed the override code she had copied long ago from a technician's notebook. The archive opened. Classified file origin, humanity status, extinct cause. UNK-on-2W-on, she blinked. Extinct? But if they were extinct, what was that ship doing out there? She clicked the next file. First contact report, year 2919. It showed an image of a human man, short dark hair, hard eyes, wearing something called armor. Next to it, a quote. "They adapt too fast. They learn too much. If we let them grow, they will outmatch us all." The file ended there. Cut off. As if someone didn't want the rest known, Lyra leaned back in her chair, confused and afraid. Were humans destroyed? Or hidden? And why did her people erase their history? Suddenly, her screen blinked. Incoming message. Station Commander Drosks jumped and answered quickly. "Yes, Commander," she said, trying to sound calm. "Your report about an unidentified ship false alarm," he said coldly. "We checked all systems, nothing on radar, but I still see it." "Sir," she replied, "it's not a Varelian ship. There is nothing out there," he snapped. "Your system is being reset. Do not mention this again." Click. The call ended within seconds. Her radar screen went black. A system reset command had been sent. Everything was being wiped. "They're covering it," she whispered. Not only did they not believe her, they didn't want to believe her. Maybe they already knew. Lyra quickly backed up the files she had found onto a hidden memory crystal. Then she turned off the lights and sat in silence. The legend said humans were powerful and dangerous, that they didn't just fight with weapons, but with ideas. They changed worlds by asking questions no one wanted to answer. And now one of them was here, right outside, alone, silent, and maybe watching her. Her communicator buzzed. "Again, private channel. It was Captain Relic, Lyra," he said, his voice low. "I need to see you." Now, she met him in a storage bay near the docking ring. He looked older than she remembered, his blue skin pale and tired. "You were right," he said, holding up a tablet. "I found the energy readings from the ship you spotted. It's human tech, old but powerful." "Why won't the station react?" she asked. "Because the command knows," he replied. "They don't want anyone else to panic." "Panic?" Relic looked at her, serious. "If humans are back, it means something big is happening," he said. "They don't show themselves unless it's serious. What should we do?" she asked. He sighed. "We wait. And we watch, but what if they're in danger? What if he's alone?" Relic didn't answer at first. Then he said, "If you decide to go out there, I won't stop you. But once you make contact, everything changes." Lyra nodded slowly. The fear was still inside her, but something else was growing to curiosity. What if this was her chance to see something no one had seen in hundreds of years? What if the myths were wrong? What if the truth was even bigger? She walked back to the control room and looked at the black radar screen. The ship was still there. She didn't need a radar to know it. She could feel it. She whispered to herself, "I'm going to find you, human, and I'm going to learn your story." The next day, the station looked the same. The lights blinked calmly. The halls were quiet. And the crew moved like nothing strange had happened. But for Lyra, everything had changed. She kept her face neutral as she walked through the corridor. No one must know what she was planning. No one must know she had copied the human files and hidden them in her flight jacket. Her heart beat faster with every step. She was going to leave the station. Alone, without permission, she had to see that ship with her own eyes. She entered the hangar quietly. Only 2 patrol ships were docked today. She chose the older one. It didn't report data directly to the command center. That gave her time, maybe an hour. Before someone noticed, she climbed inside, sealed the door, and started the launch sequence. The engines hummed softly. The ship lifted off. She flew out. Slowly, keeping her course low to avoid the station's main sensors. The human ship was exactly where she had seen it, drifting quietly in deep space. Dark, silent, but still alive. As she got closer, her scanners picked up faint energy signatures. Power levels were low, but stable. There was no movement, no weapons charging, no distress signal. It was just there, like it was waiting. Lyra stared at the ship's surface. It was made of dark metal, with scratches and burn marks across the hull. Signs of battle, old or new, she couldn't tell. One part of the ship looked like it had been hit by something massive. She slowly circled around. No response, not from the ship, not from any crew. Then she saw it, an open docking port, small but just big enough for her patrol craft to connect. It could be a trap. But something inside her pushed forward. She matched the ship's position and locked onto the port. The docking arms clicked. The pressure seal held. Her system confirmed air pressure was normal inside. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped into the human ship. The hallway was dark and narrow. The air smelled different, dry, old, and strange. The walls were scratched, some panels broken, some lights flickering. She moved carefully, flashlight in hand. Her boots echoed against the metal floor. No signs of life. Yet she turned a corner and froze. A figure lay on the floor. Human. Definitely human. A man. Wearing dark clothing with metal pieces across his arms and chest. His face was pale. His eyes closed. He wasn't dead. His chest rose and fell slowly. Lyra stepped closer, heart racing. The myths had described humans as terrifying creatures, but this one looked tired, not dangerous. She touched the device on her wrist and activated the translator. She spoke gently. "Can you hear me?" No answer. She tried again. Louder this time. "Are you injured?" The man's fingers twitched. Then his eyes opened. They were not like Varelian eyes, no glow. No color shift. Just deep, dark brown. Full of something she couldn't name. He stared at her, breathing hard. Then whispered one word. "Enemy." Lyra leaned closer. "What enemy? Who are you running from?" He tried to sit up, but winced in pain. She helped him lean against the wall. "I'm Captain Raylan Cole," he said slowly, voice dry. "Ship attacked." "Crew lost. Who attacked you?" Lyra asked again. His eyes narrowed. "It doesn't matter." "They're coming." Lyra felt a chill in her bones. "Who's coming?" The human looked at her with a strange mix of fear and anger. "Not human," he said. "Not yours either. Something else." She stared at him, confused. What could make even a human afraid? He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He handed it to her. "Flight record." "Show your people," he said. "They won't believe me, but..." Maybe they'll believe Data before she could ask more. He passed out again. Lyra stood there, holding the device. Her mind was racing. Humans were real. And they were not the enemy. Something worse was out there. Something that could destroy both humans and Varelians, and only she had the warning. She touched her communicator. "Captain Relic," she whispered. "I made contact. We have a problem." Lyra flew back to the station in silence. The human man, Captain Raylan Cole, was still unconscious. She had wrapped him in a thermal blanket and placed him gently in the back of her patrol ship. Every few minutes, she checked his breathing. He was alive, but weak. Her mind spun with questions. Who attacked his ship? What did he mean by their coming? Why were humans hiding for so long? She didn't have answers, but she had proof now. Real, living proof. As she reached the hangar, she tapped a hidden code into the panel. Instead of landing in the main dock, her ship entered a maintenance bay. "Rarely used and not fully monitored, Captain." Relic was already waiting there when he saw the human. His face turned pale. "So the stories were true," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "He gave me this," she said, showing him the flight recorder. "He said we need to see what's on it." Relic took the device and connected it to his handheld reader. A screen lit up damaged video files. Log entries, maps, energy readings. 1. File opened on its own. A voice recording from Captain Cole. Human expedition vessel verdict. 3rd Fleet, Sector 14X. Attacked by unknown force. Unknown ships. Black holes. No visible engines. Absorbed our weapons like nothing. We tried to warn the others. No time. The message cut out. Relic looked at Lyra. "This isn't just about humans." He said, "Something else is coming." They moved quickly, bringing the human to Relic's old quarters deep in the station's underlevels. He was still too weak to stand, but his eyes opened briefly. "You saved me," he said slowly. Looking at Lyra, she nodded. "I had to." He gave her a tired smile. "Didn't think I'd ever see one of your kind again. You've seen Varelians before?" She asked, surprised. "Long ago," he whispered. "When we were still allies." Allies. He nodded weakly. "There was peace once, before the silence, before the fear." Then he passed out again. Lyra turned to Relic. What did he mean by that? Relic looked away. "There's more history between our species than the public knows." He said, "The High Council erased many records after the humans disappeared." Why? 'Cause they feared what humanity stood for: change, chaos, progress too fast to control. Lyra felt a deep unease growing inside her. She had always been proud of her people's order and logic. But now she wondered, was that order built on lies? A soft beep came from Relic's handheld energy spike. He said, frowning. "In the human ship, back where you docked, what kind of spike?" He checked the data. Something activated. Possibly a defense system. "We need to shut it down," she said. "If Command detects it, they'll trace everything." Relic nodded. "I'll go. You stay here with him." As Relic left, Lyra turned back to the human. She sat beside him and studied his face. He looked peaceful, even in sleep. Not the monster from old stories, not the threat from legends. Just a man, a survivor, she whispered. "Why did they hide you from us?" Suddenly, his hand twitched and his eyes opened again. He looked straight at her, serious now. "They're already in your space," he said quietly. Lyra leaned in. "Who?" "The ones who attacked us," he said. "They don't talk, don't send signals. Just destroy. What do they want?" He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Silence. "They want everything silent, cold, lifeless." Lyra felt her skin crawl. These weren't just enemies. They were something else entirely. "Why did they attack you?" she asked. He gave a sad smile. "Because we fought back." She nodded slowly. We'll help you fight, he chuckled weakly. You don't even know what you're up against. Then teach me, she said firmly. Tell me everything. He looked at her again, really looked this time. Then he said, You're not like the others. Lyra shrugged. Maybe that's why I found you. At that moment, Reloc's voice came over the comm. Lyra, we have a problem, he said. His voice tight. There's a transmission going out from the human ship. Not from us. It's automatic. What kind of transmission? It's a beacon, Relic said. Someone's being called. Lyra turned to the human. Who's coming? She asked. He closed his eyes again. His voice dropped to a whisper. Not friends. Red lights flashed inside the control room of the old Varelian space station. Silent alarms meant only for internal logs now blinked across Relic's private screen. He didn't panic. Not yet. But his voice was tight as he called Lyra, Lyra. The human ship just sent out a beacon, an automated signal. He paused. It's repeating over and over in Relic's quarters. Captain Raylan Cole opened one eye. He had heard it too. He didn't need a translator to know the sound. His body tensed. That beacon, he whispered. It's old, from our military emergency system. Lyra leaned closer. Who does it call? He looked at her, serious. Whoever is nearby, human or not. Her stomach dropped. Can we shut it off? No, he said. Not from here. The ship is locked. Emergency beacons are designed to stay active until someone physically shuts them down. She turned to the comm, Relic. We have to go back to the ship. Now, I'm already moving, Relic replied, but we may not be the only ones heading. There, outside the station, space remained quiet. But it was a dangerous kind of quiet. Lyra and Relic met again near the hidden maintenance dock. Raylan insisted on coming. Despite his condition, he moved slowly, leaning on the wall. But his voice was steady. If it's them. If they're the ones who followed me. We won't have much time. Lyra helped him into the patrol ship, and they launched into the black. No one on the station knew yet. As they approached the human ship, the beacon signal grew louder, a steady pulse repeating in cold rhythm. The ship itself hadn't moved, still floating like a wounded animal. They docked, fast and quiet. Inside, the lights were flickering again. Raylan led them to a narrow room deep inside the ship, his hands shaking slightly. The beacon was located behind a panel near the engine core. Relic and Lyra watched as Raylan pried it open. Old wires, blinking lights, and a single red crystal pulsing in sync with the signal. Raylan pulled it out. The light stopped. Silence returned. But it was too late. Relic's communicator buzzed. He stepped aside and listened. His face turned pale. We've got unknown contacts entering the system, he said. 3 of them. No ID, no response to hails. Raylan closed his eyes. They followed the signal. He said, just like I feared. Lyra stared at the scanner feed from the patrol ship. 3 objects. Black, large, moving fast. No heat signatures, no life signs. No lights. What are they? She asked, voice shaking slightly. Raylan didn't answer at first. Then he said quietly, We called them the silent ships. The silent ships. Relic asked, frowning. Raylan nodded. They don't talk. They don't warn. They don't ask. They just erase. Lyra whispered. Erase what? Everything, he replied. They wiped out our colonies one by one. No survivors. No messages. Just empty space left behind. Relic stared at the scanner. They'll find this station. Raylan nodded again. They don't care who's in the way. If they think your station helped me, they'll remove it. Lyra's hands clenched. Into fists, we have to warn the station. No, Raylan said quickly. If they send a wide signal, the ships might detect it faster. Then what do we do? Relic asked. Wait for them to arrive. Raylan looked at them both. No. We prepare, back on the station. Lyra accessed her private channel to send a quiet, encrypted message to one person she trusted, an old engineer named Core. He was once a war technician, now just repaired oxygen filters, but he owed Relic a favor. And he knew how to keep secrets. The message was simple: prepare silent evacuation drills. Do not alert command. Possible threat incoming. Core replied with one word: understood. Lyra turned to Raylan and Relic. If those ships attack, we can't fight them with station weapons. Raylan nodded. They absorb normal energy. We tried missiles, lasers. Nothing worked. But we discovered one thing. What? He hesitated, then said, they're not fast at close range. If you can move fast inside their blind spots, you can damage their control nodes. You mean board them? Relek asked. Eyes wide, Raylan gave a small smile. Only once. Only worked because we had nothing to lose. Lyra looked at the scanner. Again, the three silent ships were still moving closer. No weapons activated yet. But they would soon be in visual range. They're real, she whispered. Humans, legends, the war, the warnings. All of it. Raylan stood up straighter, his pain forgotten for a moment. Now, it's your turn to decide what kind of story you want your people to tell. The silence inside the human ship was heavy. Even after the beacon had been shut down, the air felt tense, as if something was already watching, already near. Lyra paced the narrow hallway while Raylan sat in a corner. Rechecking the data on his portable scanner, Relic stood by the window, staring out into space. Far in the distance, the three black ships had slowed down, not stopping, not hailing. Just drifting closer. They're waiting, Raylan said finally, watching. Studying us, for what? Lyra asked. Raylan looked up, his face serious, to decide if we're worth the trouble or if we're already dead, back on the station. Someone else was also watching. Commander Drosk stood in his private office. Arms crossed behind his back, a report blinked on his desk. Unauthorized docking. Patrol ship movement detected, encrypted messages sent. Lyra, he muttered under his breath. What have you done? He tapped into the hangar logs. There it was. Lyra's ship had launched quietly and returned. But to the maintenance bay instead of the main dock. That was against protocol. He narrowed his eyes and pulled up a video feed. Fuzzy, but just clear. Enough to see something. Someone being carried from the patrol ship into the lower levels. Not Varelian, not familiar, humanoid. His heart skipped. Is that a human? He locked the video, then sent a message to Security Command. Find Officer Lyra. Bring her to me immediately, discreetly. Down in Relic's quarters, Lyra's communicator buzzed. She read the message silently and frowned. What is it? Relic asked. They're looking for me, she said. They know I left the station. And they probably saw Raylan's jaw tightened. They'll come for me, Lyra nodded. They'll call you a threat. Maybe even a weapon. Relic moved fast, grabbing a coat from the wall. We have to move him. Where? Lyra asked. He glanced around, thinking. There's a cargo drone chamber on Deck 12, sealed off since last winter. No one goes there. Raylan tried to stand. I can walk, he said, though his legs were still weak. Lyra helped him anyway. Let's go. They moved quietly through the station, avoiding cameras and main corridors, but someone was already following them. A young officer named Jor, new to the station, had received orders from Commander Drosk. Watch her. Don't engage. Just report. Jor followed them through the lower tunnels. He didn't understand what was happening. Human. A secret threat? Or a lie? Still, he followed, recording everything on his wrist device in the cargo chamber. Relic activated old power systems. Lights flickered on, revealing crates, dust, and a few broken machines. It wasn't perfect, but it would hide them at least for a while. Raylan sat down slowly, exhaling. This place smells like engine oil and disappointment. He joked weakly. Lyra smiled, but her mind was racing. They couldn't keep hiding him forever. We need to. Talk to the High Council, she said. Show them the evidence. Make them see what's coming. Relic looked at her, tired but firm. You think they'll listen? They buried the truth for centuries. You think they'll let it come back now? Raylan spoke quietly. They won't believe until the enemy knocks on their door. Suddenly, Relic's wrist buzzed a coded alert. He checked it and frowned. Security teams are moving. Quietly, they're sweeping the lower levels. They're closing in, Lyra whispered. Raylan stood up straighter. Then give me to them, he said, if they need someone to blame. Let it be me. No, Lyra said firmly. You're not a criminal. You're a warning. A moment of silence passed between them. Then Relic sighed. I think there's only one way to force the truth out now. What's that? Lyra asked. We go public, he said. We send the humans flight recording. Across open channels, every ship, every station, every outpost. Let the people see what command won't admit. Raylan hesitated. If you do that, the silent ships might pick up the signal too. Lyra looked at the old recording device Raylan had given her. It held everything: video, voice logs, sensor readings, tack patterns, the truth, raw and dangerous. She reached for the console. Her hands trembled. If she pressed send, there was no turning back. Lyra, Relic said softly, this is your moment. Choose carefully. She looked at Raylan, then at the stars outside. Then she pressed the button. Across the system, the signals spread like fire. Every screen blinked to life, showing the battered human ship. The enemy ships, the message, they're coming, not just for us, for everyone. On the station, Commander Drosk stared at the broadcast in shock. All around him, officers whispered, eyes wide with fear, and far beyond, in the cold dark of space, the silent ships turned faster now. Heading straight for the station they had heard, and they were answering. The signal had been sent. There was no going back, across the Varelian systems. Screens lit up in offices, homes, military bases, and schools. People stared at the images. A broken human ship. A tired man warning of war, and the terrifying black. Silent ships moving through space like shadows. Some were shocked, some confused, but most were afraid. Humans, once believed to be myths, were not only real, they were survivors. And they had returned with a warning inside the hidden cargo chamber. Lyra stood frozen. The message was out. And the entire galaxy would now know what she had seen. Raylan sat against a crate. Head tilted back, eyes closed. He was calm, like a man who had finally finished a long mission. Relic stared at the portable. Scanner, the silent ships, he muttered. They've changed course again. They're moving faster now, straight for us. How long? Lyra asked. Less than 2 hours, he replied. We have no heavy weapons. No defenses strong enough to stop them. Lyra looked at Raylan. You said they can't handle fast attacks from inside. Raylan opened his eyes. Yes, but that only worked because we used old tech they didn't expect. They're learning, adapting. Lyra's mind raced. We can't outrun them. We can't fight them. So we do what they won't expect. Relic raised an eyebrow, which is? She smiled slightly. We ask for help on the far edge of the system. A Varelian cargo ship received the broadcast. So did a smuggler's outpost, a rogue mining station, and even a quiet human listening post hiding in an asteroid field. The truth was no longer a secret, and across those places, humans and Varelians alike began to respond. Messages came back to the station encrypted, fast and urgent. We're moving. Hold on. You're not alone. Human support incoming. Raylan sat up straighter. A slow smile crept across his tired face. They heard us in the command center. Commander Drosk was losing control. Officers were asking questions. Crew members were requesting evacuation orders. And worst of all, people were listening to Lyra's broadcast. She broke every protocol, he snapped. She endangered this entire station. An older officer stepped forward. She might have saved it, he said softly. And maybe the rest of us too. Drosk slammed his fist on the console. I want her found and arrested. But it was too late. Lyra's face was already being seen as something else, not a traitor, but a messenger. The silenced ships entered visual range. Black holes, smooth as glass, shaped like no known design. No engines glowed, no weapons extended. But the fear in the air was sharp and cold. Relic activated a short-range scan. They're charging energy. We have less than 10 minutes. Raylan stood, using a metal bar as support. I'll go to the hangar. My ship still has one trick left. Lyra looked at him. You won't survive alone. Didn't plan to, he said, with a tired grin. She shook her head. Then you're not going alone. Relic sighed. You both are insane. But I'm coming too. They reached the hangar just as the first silence pulse hit the station. A wave of invisible force shook the walls. Lights flickered. Gravity systems stuttered. Warning. Outer defense grid offline. The stations. Voice announced calmly. Raylan opened his ship. Inside was a hidden energy core stable. Dangerous and powerful. This is an old human core bomb. If I can get close enough, I can blow one of them from the inside. Lyra narrowed her eyes. What if we don't blow just one? Relic blinked. You're thinking too big, Lyra replied. We're already in the stories. Let's give them an ending worth telling. As the silent ships approached, 3 small vessels launched from the station. Lyra piloted one, Relic the second, Raylan the third. Carrying the bomb, they flew fast, using random movement, cutting between debris and using the station's own heat signatures to hide. The silent ships didn't fire yet, but their outer armor began to shift. Like ripples in water, Raylan's voice came through the comm, ready to drop the core. Lyra shouted, "Wait, look on your left." Dozens of small ships had appeared on the edge of the scanner. Fast, sharp-winged vessels, blinking with red and blue lights, human reinforcements. Behind them, a dozen more Varelian patrols followed. Together, the ships rushed forward in a loose wave. Raylan laughed. I thought we were extinct. Lyra smiled. Turns out you're just late. The combined fleet struck with everything they had. Raylan made his final run. Slipping inside the weak zone of the first silent ship, he released the core, turned his ship sharply away. The explosion was silent, but the darkness cracked. The first ship fell apart. Others turned to attack, but now it was too late. They were surrounded. Not by weapons, by life, human and Varelian ships flying together, side by side. For the first time in hundreds of years, they fought as one. Back on the station, hours later, Lyra stood by the window. The stars were still the same. But the story had changed. Raylan was gone. His ship never returned. But he had left something behind. Hope. Relic joined her, arms crossed. The Council is still angry, he said. But they've approved new talks with humans. Lyra nodded. It's time to stop fearing myths. He smiled. You're one now too, you know? The girl who found a legend. She looked out at the stars. Maybe she was. But deep down, she knew. The real story had just begun.